Intel spent years building bridges before taking a deep dive into the lake era. These names aren't random. Most are named after real lakes in Oregon, near Intel's largest engineering campuses. Together, they tell the story of one of the most chaotic periods in CPU history. Skylake. Back in 2015, buying a Skylake processor felt like buying the future. Nobody expected that same foundation would still be shaping Intel desktop CPUs almost 5 years later. Skylake introduced DDR4 memory to the mainstream, improved power efficiency, and delivered one of Intel's biggest architectural updates in years. It wasn't revolutionary in every benchmark, but it was clean, efficient, and incredibly scalable. Then, something unexpected happened. Intel's long-awaited 10-nanometer manufacturing process kept slipping further behind schedule. Instead of replacing Skylake with an entirely new desktop architecture, Intel kept refining what already worked. That single decision shaped almost an entire generation of desktop PCs. Many people assume every new Intel generation means a completely new CPU design. In reality, Skylake became the foundation for several generations that followed. Clock speeds improved, core counts increased, media engines were updated, but underneath, the same architectural DNA remained. That's also why a Core i7 6700K and a Core i9 10900K have more in common than most people realize. Even today, plenty of Skylake systems are still running perfectly well for office work, media playback, and older games. But if you're building a new PC in 2026, this is finally where the upgrade becomes easy to justify. Kaby Lake. After such a successful launch, many people expected Intel to follow Skylake with another major redesign. Instead, they got Kaby Lake. At first glance, it looked almost identical. The same socket, the same basic architecture, even motherboard compatibility barely changed. So what actually happened? Rather than redesigning the CPU, Intel focused on polishing it. The manufacturing process became more mature, allowing higher clock speeds with similar power consumption. Hardware support for modern video formats like HEVC and VP9 also improved, making 4K streaming much more practical at a time when services like Netflix and YouTube were rapidly moving toward higher resolutions. For gamers, though, the differences were much smaller than the marketing suggested. A Core i7 7700K was certainly faster than a 6700K, but not by enough to justify replacing an existing system. Looking back, Kaby Lake wasn't supposed to be exciting. It was Intel buying time while trying to solve much bigger manufacturing problems behind the scenes. Nobody outside the company realized just how difficult those problems would become. Coffee Lake. For years, Intel had little reason to increase core counts. Most desktop processors topped out at 4 cores because that was enough for the software people actually used. Then, AMD released Ryzen. Suddenly, 8-core processors were no longer reserved for expensive workstations, and Intel had to respond much faster than it originally planned. Coffee Lake was that response. Without changing the underlying architecture very much, Intel dramatically increased the number of cores across the lineup. Mainstream Core i5 processors finally gained 6 physical cores, while the Core i7 moved to 6 cores with hyper-threading. For gamers, streamers, and content creators, the improvement was immediately noticeable. This generation also started changing how people bought CPUs. Instead of asking, "How fast is each core?" buyers increasingly asked, "How many cores am I getting for my money?" Coffee Lake wasn't a revolutionary architecture. It was Intel reacting to the biggest competitive pressure the company had faced in over a decade. And in many ways, that's exactly what made it so important. Intel also released several smaller refreshes during this period, including Whiskey Lake, Amber Lake, and Coffee Lake Refresh, but these were mostly refinements of existing designs rather than completely new architectures. Comet Lake. By 2017, Intel was supposed to leave 14-nanometer manufacturing behind and begin a new era with 10 nanometers. Instead, everything went wrong. Building smaller transistors turned out to be far more difficult than Intel expected. Manufacturing yields were so poor that producing desktop processors simply wasn't practical. After years of delays, Intel eventually released exactly one consumer processor based on Comet Lake, the Core i3-8121U. There's a reason you've probably never seen one. Despite being built on a brand new manufacturing process, it shipped without working integrated graphics. Laptop manufacturers had to pair it with a separate graphics chip just to display an image, completely defeating one of the biggest advantages of modern mobile processors. Comet Lake wasn't really a product. It was proof that Intel had technically shipped a 10-nanometer processor, even if the architecture never reached the desktop market. Looking back, Kaby Lake wasn't important because people bought it. It was important because everything that came after was shaped by its failure. Ice Lake. While desktop users were still buying increasingly refined 14-nanometer processors, laptop users quietly received something completely different. Ice Lake became Intel's first successful high-volume 10-nanometer architecture. More importantly, it introduced Sunny Cove cores, delivering roughly an 18% improvement in instructions per clock compared to Skylake. That's the kind of gain CPU designers spend years chasing. The integrated graphics also took a major leap forward. Intel's new Iris Plus graphics were finally capable of handling lightweight gaming, hardware video editing, and smooth 4K media playback, without relying on a dedicated GPU. There was still one limitation. The new manufacturing process couldn't reach the same clock speeds as Intel's mature 14-nanometer chips. Ice Lake was efficient, but it wasn't built for maximum desktop performance. That's why, for a while, Intel had two completely different stories happening at the same time. Laptop CPUs were moving forward. Desktop CPUs were still waiting. Comet Lake. While Ice Lake was proving that Intel's future could work, desktop users were getting something much more familiar. Comet Lake was effectively the final evolution of Skylake. Intel pushed its mature 14-nanometer process as far as physics would reasonably allow, increasing flagship desktop processors from 8 cores to 10 while pushing boost clocks beyond 5 GHz. The Core i9-10900K quickly became one of the fastest gaming processors available. It also became one of the hottest. By this point, Intel wasn't winning through architectural innovation anymore. It was winning by squeezing every last megahertz from a manufacturing process that had already served the company for almost 6 years. And to be fair, it worked. Gaming performance remained excellent, especially in titles that preferred high clock speeds over large numbers of cores. The downside was obvious. Power consumption climbed higher every generation, requiring larger coolers, stronger power supplies, and increasingly aggressive motherboard settings just to keep those frequencies stable. Comet Lake marked the end of an era. Intel had extracted almost everything possible from Skylake. The next desktop generation would have to try something completely different. Tiger Lake. After Ice Lake proved that Intel's new architecture worked, Tiger Lake proved it could finally compete. The company introduced an improved manufacturing process called 10-nanometer Superfin, later renamed Intel 7, along with the new Willow Cove cores. Clock speeds increased dramatically, efficiency improved again, and for the first time in years, Intel's laptop roadmap finally looked predictable. Integrated graphics took another major step forward with Iris Xe. For many people, that meant leaving the dedicated graphics card at home, editing photos, cutting together a 1080p video in Premiere Pro, or playing games like Counter-Strike, Valorant, or League of Legends became surprisingly comfortable on a thin and light laptop. Tiger Lake also introduced features that are still common today, including Thunderbolt 4, PCIe Gen 4 support, and significantly better AI-assisted media processing. Desktop users didn't get Tiger Lake, but it proved something Intel desperately needed to prove. The 10-nanometer problems were finally behind them. Rocket Lake. Rocket Lake is one of Intel's most misunderstood generations. At first glance, it looked like a step backward. The flagship Core i9-11900K had 8 cores, while the older 10900K had 10. Paying more money for fewer cores sounded ridiculous, and that's exactly how many people saw it. But the reason was much more interesting. Intel still wasn't ready to manufacture high-performance desktop chips on its newer process, so engineers did something unusual. They took the modern Sunny Cove architecture developed for 10-nanometer chips and redesigned it to run on the old 14-nanometer manufacturing process. Intel called the desktop version Cypress Cove. This process is known as a backport. The newer cores were physically much larger on 14 nanometers, leaving less room on the chip. Keeping 10 cores simply wasn't possible without making the processor too large and too expensive to manufacture. The result was a processor with fewer cores, much stronger single-core performance, PCIe Gen 4 support, and noticeably better integrated graphics. It still consumed a lot of power, it still ran hot, and Ryzen 5000 remained the stronger overall platform, but Rocket Lake also served another purpose. It gave desktop users access to Intel's newer CPU architecture, while the company prepared something far more ambitious. Alder Lake. If Skylake defined the previous decade, Alder Lake defined the next one. Instead of building processors with identical cores, Intel borrowed an idea that had already proven successful in smartphones. Some cores would be fast, some would be efficient. The high-performance P cores handled demanding work like gaming, compiling code, and rendering video. The smaller E cores quietly took care of background applications, browser tabs, Discord, Windows updates, and everything else that normally steals CPU time without you noticing. The result was a processor that could do far more work without increasing power consumption by the same amount. This also introduced one of Intel's most important technologies, Thread Director. Rather than letting Windows guess which core should handle each task, the processor continuously reports what every application is doing. Windows 11 can then move workloads between P cores and E cores almost instantly. Most users never notice it happening. That's exactly the point. Games stay on the fast cores. Background tasks stay out of the way. Everything simply feels smoother. Alder Lake also brought DDR5 memory and PCIe Gen 5 to mainstream desktop systems. More importantly, Alder Lake made Intel competitive again. After several years of reacting to AMD, Intel was finally leading the conversation instead of following it. Raptor Lake. Alder Lake gave Intel a solid foundation. Raptor Lake focused on refining it. Instead of redesigning the architecture from scratch, Intel increased cache sizes, added more E-cores, pushed clock speeds even higher, and squeezed every bit of performance out of the platform. Chips like the Core i5-13600K became some of the easiest gaming CPUs to recommend, while the Core i9-13900K often traded blows with AMD's best processors, depending on the workload. For gamers, the improvements were noticeable but not revolutionary. Higher frame rates, better multitasking, stronger productivity performance. The bigger story arrived a year later. As motherboard vendors chased benchmark numbers, many shipped BIOS settings that ignored Intel's recommended power limits. Some processors ended up running at unnecessarily high voltages for long periods, leading to instability, application crashes, and, in some cases, permanent degradation. If you've heard people talk about Intel's instability problems, this is what they're referring to. The processors themselves weren't fundamentally defective. The problem came from extremely aggressive motherboard settings, combined with Intel pushing the architecture very close to its practical limits. BIOS updates eventually corrected much of this behavior, but the damage to the platform's reputation had already been done. It also reminded everyone of an important lesson. Sometimes the fastest processor on launch day isn't necessarily the one that ages the best. Arrow Lake. After years of pushing frequency higher and higher, Intel finally changed priorities. Arrow Lake isn't about chasing another few hundred megahertz. It's about becoming more efficient. Built on Intel's new modular tile-based design, Arrow Lake separates different parts of the processor into individual silicon tiles instead of placing everything onto one large die. CPU cores, graphics, I/O, and other components can now evolve more independently, making future development much more flexible. For desktop users, the biggest difference is power consumption. Compared to late Raptor Lake processors, Arrow Lake generally draws far less power while delivering similar, or depending on the workload, even better performance. Temperatures drop, cooling becomes easier, and quieter systems become much easier to build. Gaming performance is a little more complicated. In some titles, Arrow Lake is faster. In others, previous generation processors like the Core i9-14900K or AMD's X3D chips can still hold the lead. That's because modern games increasingly depend on cache size and game engine optimization rather than raw clock speed alone. Arrow Lake also marks the beginning of Intel's Core Ultra branding on desktop, replacing the familiar Core i3, i5, i7, and i9 naming that had existed for more than 15 years. Whether that makes product names easier to understand is probably still up for debate. Meteor, Lunar, and Panther Lake. If you've been following Intel recently, you may have noticed that we skipped a few lakes. That's because not every lake became a mainstream desktop processor. Meteor Lake was designed almost entirely for laptops. It became Intel's first consumer processor built from multiple silicon tiles connected with Foveros packaging, and it also introduced the new Core Ultra branding, along with the first dedicated AI accelerator, or NPU. It was an important architectural milestone, but desktop PCs never received Meteor Lake. Lunar Lake pushed efficiency even further. Instead of chasing maximum performance, Intel focused on battery life, integrated graphics, and AI workloads. One unusual decision was placing the memory directly on the processor package, reducing power consumption but making RAM upgrades impossible. Again, this platform was built for thin and light laptops rather than desktop systems. Panther Lake continues that mobile-first strategy. It builds on many of the ideas introduced with Meteor and Lunar Lake, while bringing Intel's newer manufacturing technology and another generation of AI-focused hardware. Like its predecessors, Panther Lake is primarily aimed at laptops rather than desktop PCs. Nova Lake. Just when it seemed like Intel had finally found its new direction, another lake appeared on the horizon. Nova Lake is expected to become Intel's next major desktop architecture, bringing another substantial increase in core counts, redesigned CPU tiles, and a stronger focus on AI acceleration and efficiency. Early information also points to a brand new platform and another significant leap in multi-threaded performance. Whether it becomes another Skylake, another Alder Lake, or simply another stepping stone remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The lake era isn't over yet. So, which Intel lakes have you swum through over the years, and where are you today? Let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, drop a like and subscribe for more PC guides.